Welcome back to Chem Past Papers. Today we are solving IGCSE Chemistry Paper 2 Variant 2, February-March 2023. Let's go step by step using the official mass scheme. Question 1. Substance M is a solid at 30 degrees Celsius. The substance is heated to 80 degrees Celsius and its temperature measured as it cools down to room temperature. The cooling curve is shown. Now, this is the cooling curve, between which times is substance M freezing. So this is a cooling curve. So that means that the substance is changing from gas to solid. So it's a cooling curve. Now what are we going to look at? Between which time is the substance M freezing? So substance M will freeze at Q and R. Q and R. So after condensation, freezing. So the answer is going to be Q and R, which is option B. Why is this the answer? Because freezing happens during the flat section of the cooling curve, where the temperature becomes constant. So take note, phase change equal to flat line. Whenever there's a flat line, that means there's a change in phase. Question 2. Which gas has the fastest rate of diffusion? Now, in order to know the gas that has the fastest rate of diffusion, we need to calculate their relative formula mass or relative molecular mass. The gas with the lowest relative formula mass will be the one to diffuse the fastest. So the relative formula mass of argon will be the relative atomic mass of argon. So we check our periodic table. This is argon. Relative atomic mass is 40. Next is C2H6. Calculate the relative formula mass is going to be relative atomic mass of carbon plus relative atomic mass of hydrogen. So relative atomic mass of carbon is 12 and hydrogen is 1. So therefore this is going to be 12 multiplied by 2, and this one multiplied by 2 because we have 2 carbon here, plus 1 multiplied by 6, we have 6 hydrogen here. This will give us 24 plus 6, which is 30. And for C, we have hydrogen. The same relative atomic mass of hydrogen is 1. Then we go to our periodic table to check relative atomic mass of chlorine, which is 35.5, which means that for HCl, it is 36.5. And finally, option C, we have 2 hydrogens, so 2 times 1. Our sulfur, relative atomic mass of sulfur is 32. Now, this will give us 34. If you look at them, option B has the smallest relative molecular mass. So therefore, B is our answer. So don't forget, lower relative molecular mass equal to faster diffusion. Next question. There are 2 stable isotopes of bromine. The mass number of isotope 1 is 79. The mass number of isotope 2 is 81. Which statement is correct? The isotopes have the same number of neutrons. No. Isotopes have different number of neutrons. The isotopes have different chemical properties. No. Isotopes have similar chemical properties because they have the same number of electrons in the outer shell. C. The isotopes have different numbers of protons. No. They have the same number of protons but different number of neutrons. D. The isotopes have the same number of outer electrons. Yes. So D is our answer. So what differentiates isotopes is the number of neutrons. Question 4. Which statement about ions and ionic bonds is correct? A. Bromine atoms form negatively charged bromine ions. That is correct. Our answer is A. So if you check option B, let's see why it is wrong. Ionic bonds form between elements in group 7 of the periodic table. That is wrong. That's covalent bond. Positive ions are formed when atoms lose protons. No, atoms do not lose protons. They only lose electrons. The potassium iodide contains negatively charged potassium ions. No. When metal lose electron, they become positively charged, and potassium is a metal, so it's supposed to be positively charged and not negatively charged. So A is the correct answer. Question 5. Part of the periodic table is shown. Which type of chemical bonding is present in the oxide of F and in the oxide of G? So now if you look at F and G, F is in group 2, while G is in group 6. So that means this is a metal and a non-metal. So the oxides of metal, because oxygen is a non-metal, that means the oxide of F is going to be an oxide of metal and non-metal, which is ionic bond. So our answer is between C and D. While G is a non-metal, so the oxide of G is going to be a bond between a non-metal and a non-metal, because oxygen is also a non-metal, and that will mean that it's going to be a covalent bond. So therefore, our answer is C, because ionic bond is between a metal, which is F, and a non-metal, which is oxygen, oxide of F. And then covalent bond is between non-metals. G is a non-metal, and then oxygen is also a non-metal. So C is our correct answer. Question 6. Element X and Y react to form a compound. Element X loses 2 electrons and element Y gains 1 electron. What is the charge on the ions of element X and Y, and what is the formula of the compound? So let's start with X. We are told that element X loses 2 electrons. And we say that when an element loses electron, it becomes positively charged because it will have more proton than electron. So therefore, the charge for X is going to be 2x. And next is Y. Y gains 1 electron. The charge for electron is negative, so it's gaining 1 electron. It's going to be minus. Or if you like, 1 minus is also accepted. So that means our answer is between A and B. Now, what will be the formula of the compound? So what you do is just to exchange their valency. 2 will come to Y and 1 will come to X. So we have 1X and then 2Y. So our answer is XY2, which is B. Another way to write this is to balance the charges. So we have 2 plus here, and then we have Y minus. So that means we need to add another Y minus to balance the charges. So 2 plus, 2 minus. And if you add everything together, you're going to have X, which is the X, and then these 2 Y's, Y2. So this is another way to do it. Either you swap the valency or you balance the charges. Question 7. Which statement about graphite explains why it is used as an electrode? So let's look at the options. It contains ions. That's wrong. It is a covalent compound, so it doesn't contain ion. It has a giant covalent structure. Yes, but that is not why it is used as an electron. C. It is a metal. No, it is not a metal. It is a non-metal. It is an allotrope of carbon. Then D. It has mobile electrons. Yes, that is the correct answer. Graphite has free electrons that enables it to conduct electricity, and that is why it is used as an electrode in electrolysis. So our answer therefore is D. Question 8. Methane burns in air to form carbon dioxide and water. What is the balance equation for this reaction? So in order to get our correct answer, you check which equation is balanced. So we start with A. We have 1 carbon here and 1 carbon here, so carbon is balanced. Our hydrogen here is 4. Hydrogen here is 4 also. 2 times 2 is 4. So hydrogen is balanced. Our oxygen is 2 here, but our oxygen is 2 plus 2 here, because this 2 is for the oxygen also, making oxygen 4 here. So A is not the answer. Let's look at B. 1 carbon here, 1 carbon, 4 hydrogen, 4 hydrogens, 4 oxygen. 2 times 2, 4. Then 4 oxygen also here, 2 oxygen here, 2 oxygen here, making 4. So this equation is balanced. That means our answer is B. So you can confirm from C and D to make sure your answer is correct. Look at here, we have how many carbon? 1 carbon, 1 carbon. Hydrogen is 4 here, but hydrogen is 2 here. So wrong. 1 carbon, 1 carbon. Hydrogen is 4, hydrogen is 4. Oxygen is 6. 3 times 2 is 6. While meanwhile here we have 2 plus 2, which is 4. So definitely our answer is B. Question 9. The equation for the thermal decomposition of sodium hydrogen carbonate is shown. This is the equation of the reaction. The relative formula mass of sodium hydrogen carbonate is 84. Relative formula mass of sodium carbonate is 106. In an experiment, 2.1 gram of sodium hydrogen carbonate is heated, but not all of it decomposes. All of the carbon dioxide is collected and measured at room temperature and pressure. The total volume of the carbon dioxide produced is 0.21 dm3. The volume of 1 mole of gas at room temperature and pressure is 24 dm3. Which statement is correct? A. The mass of sodium carbonate produced is 0.93 gram. So in order to get the answer of this question, we need to calculate the mass of sodium carbonate. If the mass of sodium carbonate is not the correct answer here, then we calculate the percentage here. So let's start with the mass of sodium carbonate. Here we are told that the total volume of carbon dioxide produced is this 0.21 dm3, and the 1 mole of a gas at room temperature and pressure is 24 dm3. So that means we can get the number of moles of our carbon dioxide, so that we can get the number of moles of sodium carbonate before we calculate the mass of sodium carbonate. So mass is equal to number of moles multiplied by relative formula mass. We have the relative formula mass of sodium carbonate to be 106, but we need to get the number of moles, which is m. So given that we have the volume of gas we can use this formula to get number of moles. Volume in dm³ over 24. Our volume is already in dm³, which is 0.21 divided by 24. That is volume of 1 mole of a gas at room temperature and pressure. So our number of moles of carbon dioxide is 0.00875 mole. So now we need to calculate the number of moles of sodium carbonate. What we use is the mole ratio. The mole ratio of sodium carbonate to carbon dioxide is 1:1. So that means the number of moles of sodium carbonate also is 0.0875. Okay, because their mole ratio is the same, 1:1. So now, since we have our number of moles to be 0.0875, we use this formula to get our mass of sodium carbonate. So our mass is going to be 0.0875 multiplied by 106. This will give us 0.9275, which is approximately 0.93. So therefore, our answer is A. Question 10. An electrolysis experiment is done using carbon electrode. Hydrogen and oxygen are formed at the electrode. What is the electrolyte? So since oxygen is formed, that means it's going to be a dilute aqueous solution. So therefore, our answer is C. If it were aqueous copper 2 sulfate, oxygen would be formed, but copper would be formed instead of hydrogen. So that is why A is wrong. If it were concentrated hydrochloric acid, it is hydrogen and hydrochloric that will be produced at the electrode. If it were molten potassium oxide, potassium and oxygen are going to be formed at the electrode, not hydrogen and oxygen. So our answer therefore is C. Question 11. Concentrated aqueous copper 2 sulfate is electrolyzed using copper electrode. Very important, you underline this. Which ionic half equation describe the reaction taking place at the cathode? So at our cathode, reduction takes place. And what is reduction? Reduction is gain of electron. That means copper ion is going to gain electron to become copper. So therefore, our answer is D. Question 12. When powdered sodium carbonate and aqueous ethanoic acid are mixed, the temperature of the mixture falls. Which statement about this reaction is correct? The reaction is endothermic and the enthalpy change is negative. That is wrong. If it were endothermic, then the enthalpy change is supposed to be positive. B, the reaction is endothermic and the enthalpy change is positive. That's correct. Our answer is B. Now look at C. The reaction is exothermic and enthalpy change is negative. The statement is correct, but it is wrong because here we are told that the temperature of the mixture falls. That means it's an endothermic reaction. So the enthalpy change is positive. That is why B is our correct answer. Question 13. Magnesium powder reacts with an excess of dilute hydrochloric acid to produce hydrogen gas. Which statement about this reaction are correct? 1. The smaller the particles of magnesium powder, the more slowly the hydrogen is produced. That is wrong. The reaction will be faster, so the faster it will be produced. The higher the temperature, the faster the magnesium powder disappears. That's correct. So 2 is correct. 3. The lower the concentration of dilute hydrochloric acid, the faster the rate of reaction. That is wrong. The lower the concentration, the slower the rate of reaction. 4. The faster the magnesium powder disappears, the faster the rate of reaction. That is correct. So 2 and 4 are correct. That means our answer is C. 2 and 4. Question 14. The reaction between two aqueous compounds, X and Y, is slow and exothermic. The graph shows how the rate of this reaction changes with time. The student suggests the rate of reaction decreases with time because 1. The activation energy decreases. That is wrong. If the activation energy decreases, the rate of reaction is going to increase. 2. The speed of the molecules of X and Y decreases. That is also wrong. 3. The concentration of both X and Y decreases with time. That's correct. So the concentration is decreasing in time. So the concentration of both X and Y decreases with time. And that is why the graph is like this. So our answer therefore is D, 3 only. Question 15. Hydrogen reacts with iodine to form hydrogen iodide. This is the equation of the reaction. Which statement explains why the reaction is faster when the pressure is increased at constant temperature? 1. At higher pressure, the molecules are moving faster. That is wrong. At higher pressure, the molecules are closer together. 2. At higher pressure, more of the molecules have the required activation energy. That is also wrong. 3. At higher pressure, the molecules are closer together. That is correct. So when we increase pressure, particles come closer together. And 4. At higher pressure, the molecules collide more frequently. That is correct. So 3 and 4 are correct. Therefore, our answer is D, 3 and 4. Question 16. Ammonium sulfate is used as a fertilizer. It is made from ammonia and sulfuric acid. The dash is made by dash. Okay, so we have to fill in the gap. What is going to be the correct word to fill in this sentence? So we are talking about how ammonium sulfate is made from ammonia and sulfuric acid. So we have the dash is made by dash process. So let's look at option A. Ammonia is made by contact process. That is wrong. Ammonia is made by Haber process. So it cannot be A. Ammonia is made by Haber process, and then in which dash is used as catalyst. Vanadium 5 oxide is used as catalyst. That is wrong. Vanadium 5 oxide is for contact process. So let's look at C. Sulfuric acid is made by contact process, in which vanadium 4 oxide is used as catalyst. That is correct. Our answer is C. D is also wrong. The sulfuric acid is made by Haber node. Sulfuric acid is made by contact. So C is our answer. Question 17. The reversible reaction shown takes place in a closed system at constant pressure. When the reaction has reached equilibrium, more T is added. After the addition of T, which other substance increase in concentration? So it's an equilibrium reaction. So if more of T is added, what will happen to the equilibrium? So adding more of T will make the equilibrium to oppose that change. And by opposing the change, it will move to the left to oppose the change of increase in concentration of T or S. So therefore, the equilibrium will shift to the left. And if the equilibrium shifts to the left, that means the concentration of P, Q, and R are going to be increased. Therefore, our answer is C, P, Q, and R only, because the equilibrium shifts to the left to oppose the change in concentration on the right. Question 18. In which equation is the underlying substance acting as a reducing agent? So reducing agent are substances that are oxidized. So we are looking for the one that is oxidized. And if you look at option A, carbon monoxide changes to carbon dioxide. That is oxidation. So therefore, our answer is A, because carbon monoxide is oxidized to carbon dioxide. So the substance that is oxidized is the reducing agent. The substance that is reduced is the oxidizing agent. So therefore, the correct answer is A. Question 19. An aqueous solution reacts with a solid. The products are alkaline gas, a salt, and water. What are the aqueous solution and the solid? One of the products is alkaline gas. That means the aqueous solution is an alkaline. So that means the answer is between A and D. Magnesium carbonate will give us gas, which is carbon dioxide gas. So that means the correct answer is D, because D is going to give us an alkali gas, which is ammonia gas, a salt, and water, while A is going to give us an acidic gas, which is carbon dioxide, a salt, and water. So therefore, our answer is, the correct answer is D. Question 20. Butanoic acid partially dissociates in aqueous solution. Which row about butanoic acid is correct? So butanoic acid is a weak acid. So since it's a weak acid, the answer is between A and B, because 8 and 10 are alkaline. So 3 and 5 are acidic, but we are talking about weak acid. So weak acid should have a pH of 5 and not 3. So therefore, our answer is B. That completes part 1 for IGCSE Chemistry Paper 2, Variant 2, February-March 2023. You can find the link to the part 2 in the description or in the pinned comment. See you in part 2. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.